Thank you all for blocking time to join us for our webinar this afternoon. Really excited for this program. Before we get started, we just have a couple of housekeeping items we wanted to make sure we addressed. And so welcome to our webinar. This is being recorded, and you'll have the ability to come back to view this webinar via the Katalyst Group website or via the Invisible Crown website in the days to come. Also, you likely already noticed this, but both your video and audio were disabled as you came into the meeting. So in order to communicate with Adonius and our speakers, what we'd ask you to do is use the chat function, which is down at the bottom of your screen. So if you go ahead and find that icon, and what we want to do is just send messages directly to Michelle Jones, and Michelle's going to be monitoring questions as they come in throughout the conversation. So just to make sure that we all know kind of how to get to that chat function, if you could, go ahead and click on that right now. And then if you wouldn't mind, raise your hand, and that will be a nice warm wave and welcome to Adonius, who's going to be speaking to us this afternoon. Yep, so just go ahead and click on the raise hand function there, and you'll see your hand get raised. Excellent. Perfect. Okay. And then lastly, if you have not already, go ahead and make sure that you're on the speaker view. This will make sure that you're seeing Adonius along with the slides and not being distracted by the squares of everyone's videos who are disabled right now. All right, so housekeeping items addressed. Again, thank you for making time to join us. And it's a unique time in life. We continue to work, live, parent, mentor, and lead in an unprecedented time. And understandably, there may be moments where we have been asking ourselves what we can do and how we can be our best selves. And while we may already know that the answer resides within ourselves, it doesn't hurt to revisit that fact. So we're excited to have Adonius with us this afternoon, and for the insight he's going to share with us in regards to how to identify tools within yourself to take control of your life. So Adonius is not only a loving father, community leader, and transformation coach, but he's also a successful entrepreneur, an author, a licensed counselor, a certified IT professional, and a mentor to many. I was fortunate to meet Adonius over 5 years ago, and since starting Katalyst Group in early 2019, he and I have been talking about how we might be able to put a program together that would allow for him to present his guiding principles to the Katalyst community, and I'm so grateful that the day is finally here. So thank you all for joining us. Adonius and Michelle, the screen is now yours. Thanks so much.
What's going on, everyone? What's going on, everyone? Hello, I'm happy to be here. I hope everybody can hear me clearly. I want to explain a few things to each and every last one of you that have joined in right now. We are in a critical time right now. And what I look to do, I look to move quickly and quietly to get us to different places. This room is balanced with different types of people, different types of success, different types of background, different types of ethnic groups, different types of race. So we all are here for a good time, not a long time. In order to keep the room balanced, I have to make sure that I'm able to give each and every last individual something that we possibly can take with us when we leave this place. So what I look to do is not agree with the way you think. I'm here to challenge the way you think, which will line completely up with what's going on in the world right now. There's a pandemic going on. The laws are changing. The world is changing. The way people communicate is changing. The rules are changing. The only way to get a change from yourself is to not for me to agree with you, but for me to challenge the way that you think in order that you would think something different. That's the experience. That's the flight that I look to put you on right now. I just wanted to lay the foundation out. As Kevin mentioned, my background goes in a lot of different directions, but I like to be called the alternate route. I've been training in the alternate route for over 18 years now, 20 years experience. And as an entrepreneur, a computer background, my life was affected in exactly, it was 2002. 2002, I was working in at Motorola as a system analyst, dealing with desktop support and tier 1 first level network administration. And when 9/11 came, that changed the way the United States operated, forcing a lot of companies such as Motorola's Fortune 500 companies to close down and do massive layoffs. So my life already experienced an experience that it wasn't ready for. At that moment in 2002, I was excelling in my computer career, being MCSE certified, A+ certified, Network Plus certified, in hope that I'll build a career as a system analyst. That was the plan. Well, when that layoff came and the market was overshadowed with people going to school now to enter into the computer world, I made a decision that I never wanted to work for anyone else again. Being that I never wanted to work for anyone else again, I never had any experience up until this point because I was only taught to get an education, pick up a skill, a trade, and start a family, and that's the route that I was placed on. Unfortunately, with me growing and developing a desire to work for someone else, I decided that I needed to turn myself into a system. So I began to open up small businesses that was cash carry. I started practicing with the people in my community as well as my family selling small items. I knew if I was going to be an entrepreneur, I needed to train myself. Being that I was already trained to work for someone else, I never took a real risk in my own life other than the risk of parenting, the risk of relationships, you know, the things that we step out on a day-to-day to do. There's many titles that I can go under, but I didn't start off giving you a title because I wanted to explain before I put a title on my name, I must let you know how we both come in the same place. How do we arrive at the same place? How can we look at life from the same standpoint? Removing gender, removing race, removing titles, managers, supervisors, accountants, whatever position that you played, then you served in that position. Me, myself, I can call myself a transformation coach, which I look to help you in your transformation as I transform. But each one of these particular titles that I'm naming, you're gonna have to serve in this role in your own life. A motivational speaker, which I love. So some people on this feed line, in this webinar, I will be teaching you how to motivate yourself. Others, I'll teach you how to first transform yourself, then you can transform everything around you. For some others, I'm considered to be a self-help teacher. A self-help teacher because I had to self-educate myself. I became really connected to reading self-help books, which inspired me to start writing notes. My notes started back in 1997. So as I continued to journey, it was just small little phrases, things that helped me, that empowered me to become the person that I have yet to become. At this point, moving into an entrepreneur type role in my own life, again, selling small items, opening up businesses such as barbershops, beauty salons, tow truck companies, moving companies, real estate, of course, flipping and buying. I opened my own real estate agent. I sent someone to school to become the broker. It ended up equaling up to over 17 different corporations that I have owned and operated. Even from one of my greatest businesses that I opened, which was uniform stores for doctors and nurses. One store led to 2 stores, 2 stores led to 3 stores, and my brother and I opened the 4th store, which is still open to this day. That store generated over $500,000 last year with just scrubs and nurse uniforms alone. Being that I learned to deal with money and cash carry, it taught me how to approach people and deal with people. Unfortunately, the person that I was always missing was myself. So I want to connect the dots on how this thing happened. Me balancing people's lives was something I was not trained in. In the process of me operating and owning my own businesses, it's left me one day to have a mental meltdown. With that mental meltdown from balancing out everything in life, it forced me into a coma, where one day I was going to open up one of my stores and my heart began to fail on me. I pulled over, jumped out my vehicle to try to catch my breath and just stand up. And just as I began to walk, I just collapsed. My life bottomed out. No one to turn to, no answers. It landed me in a 5-day coma. My purpose in bringing this up is because at this point, I thought my life was succeeding. I was successful because I did the unthinkable. I took nothing and turned it into something. I pursued a dream as well as a vision, but one thing I was missing, I did not have. I was selfless. When I came out of my coma, out of the 5-day coma, everything had erased in my mind. Every person that I met always asked me, what happened? How did you go into a coma? Still trying to explain it, mental health. After seeing a lot of the psychiatrists, I've been admitted into several different mental health hospitals as an experiment, only to be researched on. So I was given medicine, but still no results. Even when I denied the medicine, they still kept me trapped as an animal inside a facility to be studied. I remember at several different of the facilities, them asking me questions that I never had an answer for. One of those questions is, do you know why you're here? That's the same question I want you to ask yourself right now. Do you know why you're here on earth? What is your purpose? This was a question I could not answer because I didn't have self. I spent most of my life being selfless. But the more facilities that I was placed in, the more understanding I began to lose interest in the things that I accomplished. Life goals, missions, visions, it began to deteriorate, where I had no purpose at all for having any type of money, my home, my position as a man, even as a dad for my children, was all meaningless. It was all a waste of time. Working out, I lost weight, I lost friends. And in that moment is when I had my real moment. I can compare 2002 to 2020, which is the exact same numbers. Right now, I started by telling you the world is changing. My world changed, but it changed for the better. Because in this process, I discovered myself. Taking the same notes that I wrote down, which started off as small notes. Hey, AJ, remember to do this. Hey, AJ, remember to smile. Hey, AJ, remember to ground yourself and to not spend a lot of time on things that will distract you. These exact same notes move my life from one position to another position, allowing me to invest into something called human capital. When I tapped into human capital, it was only because of the realization process. But I will begin to explain a lot of these things to you. I just wanted to set the pace for you, to let you know that titles automatically put you in a leadership position, but it comes with no description. We can make anybody a CEO, a COO, a manager, a supervisor. That's just a title with a role that gives expectation, but no qualifications of self. I'm here to help you with self-worth. I Am My Life Coach was developed to help individuals identify that we learn things beyond what we wanted to learn. The way we made our way into this world, we was taught to do as others has taught us. So we only can produce what it is we've been taught, constantly making that a routine. It becomes your personality, only getting the results of the teacher. Our number one job should have been ourselves. So I only have a short amount of time. So I want everybody to remember, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. There's gonna be a little something for everybody to take from the table. Don't take everything. You only take what you need. There's a statement in a saying that says, I once knew someone who knew everything, but I only took what I needed. Some of you only need a twerk here and there in your life, and your life will produce the things that you desire. I Am My Life Coach is founded on principles. If you're looking at the screen right now, it's a cycle that constantly never stops. When you come in, you have to think about refreshing your character, but you can't refresh your character until you first identify with your character. If you think I'm yelling, I'm really not yelling, Kevin. This is my coaching voice. So I want you to know that there's an inner voice that has to coach you, even to tell you some of the things that you need to do moving forward now. So we have to first identify with our character. Then we have to refresh the character that we identify with, because we have to visualize what we want ourselves to operate like, how we want to talk. The most valuable thing, keep in mind, is human capital. The number one question anybody gonna ever ask you in your life is, what's your name? Your name represents you. Second thing is they're gonna ask you is, what do you do? We will begin to describe things in life. Oh, I'm a supervisor, I'm a police officer, and the conversation is done. You really haven't described yourself at this point. If you keep looking at the cycle, going from refreshing your character is where I started at. Some of you would not start at refreshing your character. You actually might have good character right now, but you're not in position. So coming in at this point, some of us will have to get in position, then hold that position in order to take a new position. That means we have to grab a hold of something. The first thing we have to grab a hold of is self, and I'll teach you a little bit more about that as we move forward. The next thing that you will see in this current event, in this cycle, is taking action. Some of us, we wrote the goals down, we wrote the plan down, but we have yet to take the action for self. Remember me, as I gave you the beginning of my story. I was more selfless, meaning I accomplished things outwardly, not understanding if I had to describe myself to anyone, it will be based on the things that I have accomplished. Yes, I have over exceeded in the financial bracket, over $1 million. Yes, I own homes throughout the United States. Absolutely. Drove some of the top cars. I thought everything was perfect. I thought life was created so you can achieve the things that you want. In this world, you can be anything you want to be, but you still have to have a plan, because everything that teaches you outwardly in this world never teaches you to be yourself. So today I'm here to help many other people to be yourself. You have to take action. Then you move over to learning from mistakes. Learning from mistakes is a hard one, but it's beautiful, because mistakes is small lessons that is converted into experience. A lot of times your experience can help someone else. We become teachers of self, but we can't teach no one else till we first teach ourselves. So these are some of the principles that's rooted with I Am My Life Coach, which is a self-affirmation. A self-affirmation is a small, powerful phrase that you tell yourself. The two most powerful words working together is I am, and whatever follows the I am, it manifests. So what I'm looking to help you manifest, which is what I manifested in my own life, is something called self, which is life. Understanding that my, which is ownership, self, life, which is the manifestation, coach is a voice that I have to constantly coach myself to accomplish the things that I set out to accomplish. And then last in this cycle is accountable. We have to be accountable for the things that goes right and the things that goes wrong. This whole cycle constantly goes. It doesn't matter if you're teaching it to your children, or if you're teaching it to an elder, or if you're teaching it to your parents, you're teaching it to whoever. The cycle remains the same, but you must know which one needs your attention in this moment based on what you're trying to accomplish. That's the foundation. Right now, we want to identify the tools within yourself to take control of your life. This is called ownership. What I like to think of is one of my favorite shows. It's called CSI. CSI is Criminal Scenes Investigation. We're taught to investigate the things we don't like. We taught to investigate the things, everything that went wrong, the things that we see. We done seen most people experience some of the things they experienced, and they never knew what they experienced because we was on the outside looking in at them. We was on the outside looking at someone else, right? So being that they was on the inside, they never see self because they never manifested self. Well, what I had to do in my life and what my life coach looked to do is not only do it help you identify what you have learned, but it also have to help you identify as well that you need to unlearn what you learned, which is a process. The only way to identify how to unlearn something, you must first understand some of the things you do, you didn't play a part in the programming process. I learned C++, that was computer programming. Some of the characters and some of the personalities and some of the way we even do business, the way we handle money, the way we think marriage, it was all portrayed either in television shows or we watched family members do things and we actually just duplicated what we saw. And some of these same behaviors we carry out even to this day. So I think that when it comes down to a crime scene, you have to investigate yourself. We have to become 007 agents, as I like to call it, of self. Looking at things that will possibly keep us or hinder us from moving forward. So I love the title that was given. So I want you to look at the word identify. Identify in self, the things that you like as well as the things you don't like. The things in your life that's you're powerful, the things that you are good in, that's good to know those things. But it's even more powerful to know your weakness. To know your weakness, you can always improve. But for some of us, if you never seen yourself, then you won't spend any time in your weak areas. You will only continue to strengthen areas that's strong, and it will leave you being unbalanced. Losing your grounding when someone else trigger this area in your life that you haven't practiced in. So to create a crime scene, the crime scene is really called what created you? Who are you? And what was you created by? Was you created by your education? Do you represent yourself based on the school you went to? Or is it by financial? The fact that you have money in the bank, is that why you speak so boldly? Is it because you have a significant other and you married and you have a partner, which means 2 incomes is better than 1, so you're able to balance out your financial situation? What represents you? You have to identify that. The next word I like to use is tools. Tools is such a powerful word, but it goes without, we should always put it on the spotlight. Tools in terms of life, when you understand in the crime scene investigation using yourself, tools is the tools that we was granted, that we take for granted. Granted, but take for granted. The ability to hear. We want to be able to hear effectively. That means when you're listening, you're actually thinking. We use our mind more when we actually in silence. But if we never look at it as a tool, then we never can enhance it. Also, another tool is communication, effective communication. You see, without practice, you cannot get stronger at anything. So one of the things that I used to do is every time I answered my phone, I used to practice. I used to practice how to communicate. I used to practice how to say yes, and I used to practice how to say no. Sometimes even with my sons, when they asked me for something, I said no on purpose just so I can practice how to deal with their feelings and emotions. You see, if we don't look inwardly, then we never can fully invest in the hidden treasure. The hidden treasure is called human capital. The next word is called within. What? Within. Human capital is a treasure that's hidden inside of you. So the only way to get the best gift, you have to go inwardly to get it. It is an inside job. So I'm looking to let everyone know that if you're writing anything down, I need you to always remember It's an inside job. Remember, a leader takes full responsibility for problems that goes right as well as problems that goes wrong, because you have to take ownership. Everybody gets a chance to lead in the front. Again, at the very beginning, a title automatically puts you in a leadership role, but it does not define you as a person. There are many people that's leading the world, taking, for instance, the president. So I think he has the top job, the top leadership role in the country. And you would think an 8th grader can lead the country better than him. But it's the position. It's the position. We can't knock somebody else's position until we first get in position. And I don't mean outwardly, I mean inwardly. We have to get our own affairs together, which brings us to the next word called yourself. Your, if you break the word up, your is ownership. Self is manifestation. That means present. That means who you are, self. Remember in my story at the very beginning, I was selfless, but I was manifesting things, cars, going places, right? But and when it came down to human capital, I didn't manifest myself. So I wasn't a good friend. I wasn't a good person to be around because everything was outwardly. The best treasure is found inwardly. Peace, love, joy, the things you can't buy or purchase at Walmart, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Neiman and Marcus. It's an inside job. You have to be granted these particular things, including love. Love has to be built, right? If you say take ownership, which I just explained, control, in order to take control, you must first be grounded. The only way to ground yourself is to identify with self. Once you ground yourself, then you access something called control, which is self-control. A lot of times this word, we just speak these words, but it has no meaning because we never was taught with understanding of true self. Self-control keeps us from fearing or worrying down this journey called life of either losing control or being out of control and then getting handed over to become remote control, which is the world we're living in right now. Remote control by social media, by the news, by cell phones. We cannot keep allowing a distraction to distract us from distractions. If you're not grounded, you will be distracted by everything and anything. So that's how you take control of life. Leading us to the next slide. CSI, crime scene investigation, right? So I'm helping you to identify the crime scene. One of the things that happen in your crime scene and that help forge your life into some of the situations that you are in right now, keep in mind, this room is well balanced. Some people had amazing parents. Some people did not. Some people in this webinar was raised by the DCFS. Some people went to good schools. Some people went to no schools. This is what makes up our community right now. This is what makes up this webinar. This is what makes up the community we live in outwardly, the city, the country. Is made up of people from different backgrounds. And we have to continue to remind ourselves that we have to be what we want to see. What you're looking for in the world, you will never find because the world must find it in you. But you have to find it in you first in order to monitor it and protect it, right? So here's the crime scene. Single parent households, negative influence. This is some of the things that help you or forge you into some of the situations and circumstances that you are now living in, right? What am I doing? I'm exposing certain areas that help contribute to some of the things that we learn. But the only way to get it out and to reprogram ourselves is we have to first identify with it. So you see life-altering events, corporate layoff right now. This world has never seen the conditions that it's in right now. There is more people unemployed right now than ever before. These people are our family. These people are friends. These people are people at the grocery store shopping with you. There's a mental breakdown that's about to take place. And just seeing some of the things that's about to transpire or take place or already done taken place, it has to affect you. If you think you have a heart, the things that goes on in the world has to trouble you. If it do not trouble you, then you have not manifested yourself. You looking outwardly saying, hey, so what? Hey, this is life. This is life. This is not life. Until you first manifest yourself, then you will see what life is. Then we can help others. You see, corporate layoff, mental breakdown. I talked about self-realization. That's the reality. When your expectation of what you think life is don't meet your reality, then you will be forced into a mental breakdown. Because I can hope, I can dream, but the reality is I have bad credit. I don't keep a good, solid, balanced relationship. My family is broken. There's no foundation. Self-realization is the doorway. That's the path. That's the path that some of you are looking to be on right now. Self-love leads to self-manifestation. Self-love leads to self-discovery. Self-love leads to self-worth. If you don't have self-love, you're not going to know self-worth. If you don't have self-love, you will not have self-empowerment. So you will always look to a motivational speaker, a spiritual counselor or leader, or going back to school maybe, to assist you because you have not took ownership to assist yourself. As well as I said, self-love. This is called self-realization. Self-realization leads to self-manifestation. Right now, I love episodes. So as you can see, this says on the right, it says, this is the last episode. This is time to self-reflect. I told you earlier, a self-affirmation is a small, powerful phrase that you tell yourself. What I would challenge you right now is to ask yourself, what are you telling yourself? Are you telling yourself the truth? Or are you telling yourself something just to get to the next day? I want you to tell yourself, this is the last episode. In any movie, there has to be a grand finale. I like to look at life as I'm playing my position and I'm playing this game. This game is called life. Whose life? Your life. You have to be the MVP, the most valuable player, if you're going to succeed in this game called life. So as of right now, I want to take a time out. And I want to call a play, not just for myself, but for you as well. This is the last episode. This is the grand finale. This is when we have to get you out of this jar. This is when you have to take the top off. Some of you think that this might be the skeletons in your closet. This might be you when you was back in college. This might be you as a teenager. You see, you wasn't a bad person. It's just you wasn't grounded, but you was bold. You had so much finesse. You was energetic, right? You had passion. Passion is fuel. You just didn't have purpose. You can't lock the old you inside of a jar. Lock the old you, your passion. Your passion is the gas and the fuel. But today you have to identify that purpose is fueled by passion. So now for some of us, we have to get to the grand finale. You're going to need the old you to help you with the new you because it's an inside job. The one you tucked away in college because that person got you in trouble, that person took more risk than you're willing to take right now, then it's on you right now. Yes, the old you got you in trouble, right? The old you did some stuff that you're not even proud of, but it's time to face reality. Right now, we have to move away from the norm. In 2002, when 9/11 shook the United States, it changed the way we came into the airport. It changed the way we viewed life. For the first time, it was an attack on America. Everything changed. Now, when you go through the airport, you have to go through TSA. They had private federal guards now. You had to strip and take everything off. When have you taken everything off yourself? At some point, we have to tell the truth before we go to the grave. Life gets better when we can identify that, you know what? We've been living in a box. As you can see on this slide, there's one light on, but it comes from the box. But if we keep it hidden, then we never let people know that we have the experience. Some of us is built off of the things that other people can't live with. They don't know that you might lost over hundreds of $1,000s, how many startup companies you started, what was the risk? We have to take the risk, and the risk is on self right now. You have a better chance with you and trusting in the things you do than trusting in a system that's not designed for you. So we have to move away from the norm, and now we have to find the hidden treasure. Sometimes the hidden treasure is found in someone else. It's found in a friend. It's found in a spouse. It might be found it might be located in your children. But if you're not looking, you won't discover. So it's called self-discovery. We looking to discover things that will enhance who? Self. We have to add on to self just like we would add on to anything else, not outwardly, but inwardly. We have to mark it, and we have to start digging. We have to look for what it is we're looking for, not just in ourselves, but in others. Knowing what you're looking for as well as what you're not looking for is very important. Why is that? Because it's balance. What I look to do in this webinar is to create success that's balanced. A lot of times our success is unbalanced because we're really not present. We just look for things on paper. Some people are data people. They only want to see numbers, but they don't want to see your heart. They don't want to see your opinion. Your opinion changed everything. Your present changed everything. But if you just here to operate in a skill or a trade, then you have no value. You have no voice. It doesn't matter what you feel, what you think, because you already was programmed to do as I say, because that's what I pay you for. And to go to a corporate job and serve in a position, it's not nothing wrong with working for somebody. But truth is, have you ever determined that you actually contracting yourself out to a company, even though you work for a company? The beautiful part is you don't pay the phone bill, you don't pay the gas bills, you don't pay none of the expenses. The company is already running, so you practicing. What are you practicing? You practicing yourself. Now, what you get in return is what creates your life in your system. Again, it's an inside job. Hidden potential leads to full potential to accomplish anything and everything that you desire. Activating self-management. Notice I done already took you an alternate route. So we literally inside of self right now. We're taking a walk through self. One of the things I love about the alphabet is that the alphabet consists of 26 characters. If you're missing one, then you don't have a complete set. Another thing, if you look at the alphabets, it's really codes. These alphabets, if you take different alphabets and put them together, it will spell words. Those words have meaning. Keep in mind, the alphabet is just the chart. It's up to you to determine what word you need, as well as understanding the meaning that goes with the word. Now stop and take a break. Think about self for a minute as we look at the alphabets, right? If you don't know your purpose, then why do you need passion when you don't know where you're going? There's a purpose for the words that you're using. There's a purpose for the image that you have. There's a purpose for speaking, and there's a purpose for being quiet. When I wrote the book, I Am My Life Coach, I started writing the book just the way I was taught, from page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I kept going. By the time I reached page 49, I believe, I had a brain lock. I couldn't go no further. So it's almost like saying the alphabets. And I got to the letter L and I couldn't go no further. Some of us in life, we live in this condition where we can't go no further, so we get comfortable in this position. And what happens? We just completely stay there, right? What I was told was to find an alternate route. So I paused when I was writing my book. And in the beginning of my book, I stated, begin with the end in mind. So I was able to go back and look over my work and say, why can't I go no further? Why can't I go no further? This book has to go further. It said, what's the first thing you started off with? I said, begin with the end in mind. What did I do? So I wrote the notes and didn't even know it was saying go to the end. So the rest of the book, I put the end on my book and I wrote it in reverse. So I was writing Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, N. Oh, M. I had to see it a different way. Most of the time we're taught the norm. But remember in the slide before, getting away from the norm might be your activation to you becoming a millionaire. It might be your activation to you having a successful, balanced marriage, right? It might fix the problem with the world. But if we keep doing things the normal way, we only gonna get the normal results. And sometimes the normal results is what you have now. It doesn't leave you happy. So we wanna leverage the positive connections, the things that enlighten you, the things that brighten you, the things that makes you who you are. It's an inside job, the transformation, right? Without no relationship, you need a relationship with everything that operates in your life, from your accountant to the person that makes your coffee at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, your personal shopper, to the dealership. You need a personal relationships. Relationships is so key in this particular time because it resembles human capital. You have to find the worth in someone else. It will bring you to the doorway that you're looking for. It will help manifest the conversations that you're looking for. Without no relationship, there'll be no communication. Without no communication, there will be no transformation. You need to master the position you're in now if you want to get in a new position that will be opening up to you very soon. Creating a roadmap for self. Now that we're manifesting self and that you understand that without a relationship, there will be no communication, we need to talk. From a spiritual standpoint, to a financial standpoint, to an emotional standpoint, we need to have the conversation, right? So we can have the transformation. In that transformation, you will begin to see something called your vision. The vision is the things that you see and the things that you hope for. You have a vision for your life. Everyone had a vision for their life. When you become self, not somebody else, meaning your parent says, I see my son or my daughter going to Spelman, becoming a doctor just like me, becoming a lawyer just like me, or a father saying, my son gonna go to the military, he's gonna be a militant man. And he be totally the opposite. Is it defiled? No, it's because somebody tried to put their expectations on you. And when they put their expectations on you, it put limitations on you, clouding the vision, because you had a vision for someone else instead of having a vision for yourself. And so now you're feeling that you're not succeeding in life because we expect more out of someone else, out of an employee, out of a company, and don't expect anything out of self. It's an inside job. That's the vision. The next step after vision you want to write is mission. That is a mission to succeed in accomplishing the vision that you want. Your mission has to be very straight. It has to be plain. It has to be so rooted that you can do it all night. That's the passion. The passion is the fuel. That's the mission. It has to work. I can tell you a million reasons why it has to work, right? I can't give you one reason why it won't work because it's part of the vision. If you can see it, then it's available. If you can see it happening for you, then it's available. But you can't go and ask someone else what they think. Your vision goes with you. Remember, I am my life coach is a short, powerful phrase that you tell yourself. But if you give somebody else the steering wheel to your life, then you're going to be responsible for anything that happens along that road called life. The next thing you want to do after you see what the mission is, then the goal. The goal is short terms. It's small wins. Every win is not going to please the people around you. But see, again, if you don't understand that it's an inside job, the goal is to get to the next point. The goal is to not be frustrated. The goal is to not make people upset. The goal is to not go back and forth. The goal is not to spend a lot of time in the wrong area. I know a lot of times when we see goals, it sounds like I want to save $20,000. My goal, I want to trade my car in. I want to pay off all my debt. It seems like the goal is what's gonna make life better for you. It's totally in reverse. Human capital, that's not the goal. The goal is to not balance $20,000 credit cards or 20,000 bank account. It's 100,000. The goal is always to manage more, not to decrease. When you decrease, you take away responsibility. When you decrease, you decrease in your responsibility. We put here to self-manage the things that we have, not live beyond, but manage the things we have, get in position, and then go to another level to take on more. Once we started for self, then we can help someone else. From goals, we have to look at something called strategy. It has to be a strategy. Sometimes it requires you getting rid of some of the people that's in your life, some of the voices, some of the things that you was told, self-help books, right? Like I Am My Life Coach. You can find it on Amazon, right? But you have to have a strategy. When I Am My Life Coach, the book was created, I didn't release the book right away. I had to spend the first 3 years using it just to put my life back together because I lost everything, because everything didn't have no meaning to it. That's how I discovered that less was more. So I took the book and I converted the book into proper Spanish. I condensed it down into a student edition, taking out more of the inside stuff and just leveling it down and making it a motivational book, which is now being taught in Chicago public schools in terms of SEL, which is social emotional learning, and restorative practices, right? Motivating people to become self. I teach 7th graders and 8th graders how to be successful in the things that their parents didn't even teach them. They know about being grounded. They understand the vision and the mission and the goal and the strategy. I also put I Am My Life Coach book in American Sign Language. Did I create another book? No, I did not. I thought outside the box. I got away from the norm. Time after time, people ask me, when is the next book coming out? When is the next book? I'm working on the next book, but I had to complete the vision that I saw for this book. The vision is to be all around the world. The book in French. We have to broaden our horizon. We have to get out of the norm and we have to start looking at the bigger picture. The book is also in a workbook. I also converted into e-learning, so I'm e-learning ready. So right now it sits in 14 formats. The book was published in 2016. 4 years later, it's in 14 different formats, taught inside of Chicago public schools. Because the vision, the mission, the goals, the strategy, and now the action plan. The action plan is backing up the things. The action plan is now facing the reality. Where are we at right now? Not losing the story, but remembering the story. Remember the alphabets, A, B, C, D, and the letter M was missing. So I stopped and didn't allow that to stop. I can't go past M. So I went to the end and I started learning it backwards. Sometimes in life, you're gonna have to do things a different way. It goes against the norm. But you can't not forget the journey. You can't forget the experience that you already gained. Science is classified knowledge gained by observation and experimentation. Why is it classified? Because only you know what you did. Only you know how you got out of some of your situations. But it's time to use that experience now, if not to help yourself, but to help others. So that brings us to this slide, which is about your attitude. Your attitude determines your altitude. There's a saying in scriptures that says, iron sharpens iron. Today, I'm here to challenge you to not say iron sharpens iron. Today, I'm going to tell you that character sharpens character. Your character can sharpen someone else's character. There's another saying in the scripture that says, bad company corrupts good character, which means it proves that character can sharpen character. Human capital is seeing the best in others, knowing that that individual add value to your circle, to your life. Your attitude shapes environment. So you have to always choose the right type of attitude to help shape the environment that not only you participate in, but also the environments that others participate in. We are neighbors together. So we have to learn from one another. That's the brand. Your brand represents you. I open up by saying the most question you ever going to be asked is, what's your name? That's the first question. Excuse me, what's your name? Soon as you give your name, the second question is, what do you do? You see, your brand is you. Your brand advertises the quality of your product. So you can represent who you are in this world. The world is not built, it's being built. And one way this world is being built by people, human beings, you and me. Well, how is the world being built by human beings? It's being built by human beings through ideas and conversations. So we have to improve our conversations. Without no relationship, there'll be no communication. Without no communication, there'll be no transformation. Again, the world is changing. Rules is changing. Laws is changing. And those laws is changing according to the norm and what you do. If you keep doing the same thing, then the laws and the rules will be geared towards you doing the same thing, which is the norm. And the moment you do something different is the moment you are operating outside the box, which is how life is intended. Don't trap yourself in. I want to ask, do anybody have any questions? You can find us or contact us at Invisible Crown, www.invisiblecrowninc.com. In regards to the schools, you can go to IamMyLifeCoach.org, or you can email us at the information that's given. Again, I wear many titles. One of the titles that I'm proud of is being a self-help teacher, because we have to first help ourselves in order to help someone else. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed some of the things that I brought across the airwaves to you. I want to thank Kevin and his team for allowing my team, the Invisible Crown, the coaching firm, to participate in this amazing webinar. I look forward to coming back, but if you guys don't see me, then you guys didn't vote for me back, and Kevin did not like what I had to say.
We're definitely
My next book will be about Kevin. Any questions?
I love it. No, Adonis, you hit on some really, really important topics, and I can speak from self-experience. I would say that when I was in college, I was studying accounting and finance. I was midway through the program, and I called my folks and said, I'm really not interested in doing this. This just isn't my calling. And I'm thinking about taking a year off, and they had my older sister call me, who had graduated 2 years earlier. And she said, Kev, I can appreciate the fact that you're not happy with what you're studying. You're halfway through it. Just finish what you're doing, and you can do whatever you want after that. And so I heeded the advice and finished my studies and immediately moved out to Portland, Oregon. But I found myself continuing to just plod through life. What I realized later was kind of living up to the expectations I thought others had of me. And I hadn't given myself time to really think about what is self for me and what's self-fulfilling and what makes me happy. But I was going through this process of just attaining things that I thought others thought I should be attaining, just through where I was in life. And it wasn't until I stripped myself of all those things that I realized happiness comes not through the material things that we have, but what we're able to share with others, and importantly, our ability to be present in the moment and be present in the community and the environment that we surround ourselves with. So you're spot on with your message, Adonis, and I'm grateful for you sharing this with us. And I know that there are many other people on this webinar with us today that absolutely are with you in that, and many of us struggle with it day to day, and it's recognizing that it's okay to struggle with it, but just be aware of it, and then from there we can take action.
Well, one of the key tools, Kevin, is that when I looked at life, instead of keep trying to accomplish more and grab for more, I identified that I needed to make room. So I went totally the opposite. I said, you know what? Instead of going after the things I do need and the things I want, let me get rid of the things I don't want, things I don't need. So I totally went the opposite way, which is this is why I said you learn. I learned I wanted this, I wanted this, I wanted this. And we study, ask for more things. And as soon as we get it, it loses value. So I learned that less is more. So I unlearned. Instead of going after what I want, I took away the things I didn't want. I didn't want confusion, so I wanted to spend more time on the things I did want, which is more of self. Unlearning, and then now enter into a new point, which is where I'm at right now, is relearning, but this time being present to also be approachable, to say, hey, it's not more so about gaining more. It's about getting understanding for the knowledge that you already have. Why do you know what you know? And then always remembering, Kevin, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes, so true, so true. I guess one question that does come to mind is, as you were going through this transformation process, did you have any kind of books that you were referring to, or any mentors that you had kind of helping to guide you through this?
Well, Kevin, I'm glad you asked that. When I was going through this process, it was an inner voice that was talking to me. The inner voice is really considered to be like your conscious, right? And I just wanted to start writing things down. And I started looking at books like Robert Kiyosaki, Zig Ziglar, Colin Powell, but I wanted to study even Martin Luther King. But I took the doctor off of his name, the reverend off of his name, and I just wanted to deal with the man because a father figure was absent from my household. You see, to be able to strip, that's why I started at the beginning of this webinar saying, let's remove gender, female and male. Let's remove titles, roles, because any title puts you in a leadership role. So let's take the description of the role away, and now you can deal with the human being. And now I can see your heart. So as I paced it out, I became my own life coach. So I really learned that, hey, it's on me right now. I have to be responsible, and I have to go out and get the things that will help add more value to the circle and the people that I participate in. Don't expect to have it if you never got it. So you learn the rules, then you break the rules. To learn, but a lot of times we never learned the rules. The rules of the road is called self. So we'll know how far to go in conversations instead of just going into dangerous areas in people's lives or spending money and not thinking, how can this money duplicate? You know, how can I reinvest this money? The best thing to do is reinvest in yourself. Bring value up on you, and people will pay you to be you. That's where the true treasure is located at. So I like to read. The best book to read is the Bible to me. I mean, I'm sorry. I love relationship. I'm not religion, but I love relationship. And I believe when you have the relationship with self, that's what other people is looking for. They're looking for something in you that you have to discover. That's why it's called self-discovery. Self-worth, human capital. You got a question? I think I answered that question. I barely see the question, so I'm sure.
How were you able to expand your network so quickly after you were laid off from Motorola after being in the corporate world for several years? Did you ever find out why you backed out?
Well, that's a lot of questions. Let's go. When I left Motorola, I felt that it was time. It was time for me to make myself into a business. So I started my own corporation. The moment I was laid off, it did a massive layoff. And at the same time, the Iran thing that took place, it was a huge shaking in the financial sector. Moving down the line a little bit more, the real estate collapsed and we went into a recession. So by this time, I was already moving to be an entrepreneur. Everyone should have a corporation started. My son's is the president and the vice president of every company I started. So I looked at it like I was working for them. Even if you do work a job, you still want to have your own corporation to work for self. Your number one job is to work for yourself first, picking the right attitude, picking the right conversation, picking what you bring to the table. Whatever you bring to the table, then you can build at the table. But it's like a big potluck. And that was my first start. My first start was the hair salon, finding out to open up smaller business that will give other people that was like hairstylists and barbers, they was contractors. So I began to put businesses back into the community, allowing them to learn from me as I learned myself. So working for someone, it put limitations on me. But when I finally was let go and everybody was crying and didn't know what they was gonna do, it gave me the freedom to now tap into a hidden potential and open up a treasure chest that made me recognize I'm full of potential. It's about finding the hidden variables inside of self. I did an experiment inside of my book, Kevin, and at the time I only used it 100 people because it was so small before the book took off. And I asked people, it was called hidden variable, and it's X plus Y equals 7, right? That was the question that I asked. And to my surprise, 77% of the people said 4 plus 3 equals 7, or 3 plus 4. There's many other ways to get 7, but majority chose 4 and 3, or 3 and 4. So I always look, when it comes to making a choice or a decision, I look for the person that's gonna say 7 plus 0, or 1 plus 6. Because many people not gonna take the time out, that extra 10 seconds, 15 seconds to make a different choice. There's many different ways to get the results that you're looking for. Unfortunately, you have to know when those results is. And with the blackout, the question with the blackout, it was, I would like to think I was overworking my brain and my purpose wasn't accurate. It wasn't grounded. You see, by me not grounding myself, I lost control in life. It was about money. It was about things outwardly, right? It was about gifts. It was about financial movement. It created an attitude in me, but I never saw this attitude. It's just people had to experience. My mom, I never had time for her. I bought my mom a house. Hey, I bought you a house. Why you keep calling me? You know, I bought you a townhouse. You should be happy right now. You know, I got other things to do. You see, when you lose time and track of self, then people really don't want things. They actually want you, but you can't give them you if you never become you. Yeah. So eventually, it's called a mental meltdown. So in this mental meltdown, I can't really explain to you what it means to be completely banished from life and have it ripped out of you. And then when you come back in life and realize that the creator was upset with you because you didn't acknowledge him while you was creating. So it allowed me to learn more about myself, so I took my time. And no matter how many things disappear out of my life, I always remember less is more. The less of the world and more of self gives me full control. And now I'm more aware of the conversations as well as the environments that I participate in. Self is so valuable, human capital. And it will help you accomplish your goals. And the more you accomplish is the more you assist others that's around you. So being in those facilities that I was put in, it was filled with people in high rankings in the military. It was filled with chemists. So it kind of brought me comfort to think that a nobody like myself at the time, because that's what I called myself, a nobody, because I had to become somebody to myself. So I like to say the Almighty took a nobody, transformed him into somebody, and didn't ask anybody for permission. So to my surprise, I was sitting around all these people that had degrees, but you can't allow your net worth to determine your self-worth. Just because you have those things outwardly, you have to make sure you have the right heart, that you're approachable and you're willing to help people, and not forget that you didn't always reside in the position that you're in right now. So that's what I learned about the blackout, is that I blacked out so that I will participate in this relearning process. And that's how I unlearned what I learned, because I never forget the time of laying on that ground and being carried into the hospital and waking up feeling like what happened, and still trying to put my life together. To this day, it's an ongoing process, but I'm forever reminded that I am my life coach, not yours. So I don't try to coach nobody else, because that put responsibility on someone else, and it takes all accountability off yourself. It is your job to make yourself happy. It is your job. If you're looking for peace, protect your own peace, and you will have it. And then you can share the peace that you have, that surpasses all understanding. How did you get this peace? I don't know. But I know it's my job to protect it. So that's how that's how I handle the blackout situations. And now I just look to help other individuals become entrepreneur. I wrote about it in my book. It's a mindset. A mindset to own yourself and to lease yourself to other companies or institute, like a contract worker, a vendor. I'm leasing me to you with my services that I'm capable of providing. So it's just changing the narrative so that we can rewrite the way we was taught and teach ourselves something different. So like I told everyone when you came into the room, I'm not here to agree with the way you think. I hope and I look to challenge the way you think, that it will produce something different. Maybe not in you, but maybe in someone else that's connected to you. We have to move away from the norm. The world is moving away from the norm. And if the world is changing, then you should make sure you're changing too. Mm-hmm. Better. For the great of good. For the great of good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Michelle, is there any other questions, or otherwise? I know we're just over 5 o'clock, and
No, we're good.
Very good. Well, Adonis and Michelle, thank you both very much. Michelle and I were talking yesterday, and Adonis and she are creating a foundation, and to thank them for their contribution to the Katalyst community. We are going to make a donation to that foundation as soon as it's created. So thank you very much, Adonis, for your wisdom, for your time. Go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, I wanted to say something. It's not easy to say. I explained my story to you because I felt that my story came first. 3 weeks ago, I'm an advocate for mental health awareness. 3 weeks ago, I lost my oldest son to mental health. And that foundation that's being put together as we speak has definitely shifted the focus of how important it is to making sure you stay mentally healthy. There's so much work to do in this sector. I look to build suicide 24-hour hotlines, extended care, immediate care, transportation pickup. I will be opening up a school. I'm in the process of signing a contract for this facility, a training facility, not just in the city that I'm birthed from, Chicago, but this is a worldwide calling. It's not gonna happen in one day, but every day I do make the effort to remind myself how important. Someone asked in one of the questions, do I know what my purpose is now? My purpose is to assist you and others, and to be an alarm for others that time is running out in areas in our lives. It has to be bigger than you. I told you the first step to leadership is titles. The next level to leadership is self. And the only way to get past this level of leadership called self is to get over yourself. Get over yourself. If not, then nothing will birth around you. My son's life will not go in vain. He was my firstborn. I represent him now. I honor him now with my teachings, and hope that I might, as his eyes went closed, and hope that I might open hundreds of thousands more by making them aware, making them accountable, and allowing them to manifest themselves before it's too late and they have an identity crisis. Whatever a mistake is just a short lesson that you can learn from, and it will be used as experience. But we must first, as people, identify with our reality if we're gonna make a difference in what tomorrow looks like. Tomorrow is forged off of your habits. And if you never look at your habits, then you don't know what tomorrow looks like. I want to thank you again, Kevin, and your whole staff and your organization, and helping me spread the spotlight on mental health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Adonis.
All right.
Thank you for sharing. All right, everyone, that wraps up our program for today. Thank you very much for participating, for being here, for being available, and for being present, and really appreciate it. So like I said earlier, you can catch a recording of this on the Invisible Crown website as well as the Katalyst website. They should be live within the next, I'd say, 3-4 business days. So thank you all again. Have a good night.
All right. Peace out, you guys.